Hey everyone, Firesticks Dave here. Welcome to the pub crawl with Hervey and Angry Phil. What is up, fellas? What are we talking about today? We're going to hit up on Cubs, and then we're going to touch on some college basketball season started.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of college basketball that just kicked off this week. Cubs making some surprise moves, and then we might get into a little bit of college football with the playoff rankings coming out, and a whole lot of crazy stuff going on in Michigan, and possibly where their season might go or may not go, depending on if they get punished early.
Yeah. I want to start off with the Cubs. Obviously, I'm a huge Cubs fan. I was very shocked when I saw the news broke out. Came out of left field. No idea that this was in the works. This feels like a power move.
Mm-hmm.
I was very caught off guard by it. I had no idea that this was in the works, like I said, and it feels like what we did when we got Joe Madden. It does feel like that. And it's crazy. A baseball manager making $8 million a year, he reset the whole market and stuff. Let me ask you this, because you're a baseball expert. I've always relied on you for your baseball opinions, even though you're a Sox fan. I need to know this.
I might be a Cubs fan soon.
Okay, so hey, there's still room on the bandwagon. But listen, bro, Craig Counsell, how much? Where do you rank him as one of the top managers in the game? Number one, and number two. What he did with Milwaukee was incredible, right? We talked about how we can't name more than 3 players on the Brewers if we're lucky, right? But how much effect does he have on the Cubs right now? Like, what does he do? Because baseball managers don't get a lot of credit, like basketball and football coaches. Where do you see the impact?
Well, I see it. I definitely agree with you where you say that it's similar to when they hired Joe Madden. They were in the phase of rebuilding. They had Ricky Renteria in there. He didn't do anything wrong, but they knew he was just a hold. And then Derek Ross did an amazing job.
Yeah.
David Ross. David Ross did an amazing job.
Yeah.
And for the way the team was built and signing Cody Bellinger, going with younger talent, hoping that Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki would be the players you signed them to be. He made this team basically a playoff contender when they weren't expected to be a playoff contender. So the fact that they're moving on from him and you're bringing a guy like Craig Counsell is definitely a power move. It's definitely a move saying we're ready to win now because we think we got those guys. And in terms of him as a manager, he's right there at the top of the game. He played in the bigs for 10 plus years as a utility player.
Yeah.
He won with the Diamondbacks. He won with the Marlins. So he knows how to win on the diamond, and he knows how to win on leading the bench. 5 out of 6 years took Milwaukee to the playoffs. Milwaukee has a great starting rotation. They had Hader. They had Williams as their closer. So they had good pitching all the way through.
Yeah.
And you're right when they say managers don't get enough credit, because a lot of baseball now is analytics. Analytics this, analytics that. But baseball, no matter how much analytics tell you do one thing, the players still have to perform. You have to trust your players to perform. You have to prepare your players to perform. Mm-hmm. You have to put them in the right situation to perform. And Craig Counsell does that.
Okay.
Outside of Christian Yelich, Willie Adames, Rowdy Tellez, they traded for Carlos Santana. You can't name anybody on this roster.
That's exactly. I was just going to make the point. Is he's one of those managers that maximizes the potential of each of the players on the roster.
Exactly.
Those mid-tier guys play a level up.
So this is what I want to know. So number one, if we had Craig Counsell instead of David Ross, I said, do we make the playoffs? Does he make that much of a difference?
I think you do, because one of the flaws last year for the Cubs was their bullpen was burnt out, and their starting pitching was used too much.
Yeah.
And then outside of Nico Horner and Dansby Swanson, their defense struggled at times. So I think he would have done more with the roster. You had Patrick Wisdom early on, then you had Nick Madrigal. I think he can take the trust from Jed, or Jed will take his word and trust him more than I think he did with David Ross. I think Jed thought he had to be more hands-on, had to be more, this is who I want you to play, do it. And where Craig Counsell, I think, has that track record of saying, I'm going to put guys in the right situation regardless, of who they are. And don't forget, they moved on for Josh Hader in a very surprise trade. They moved on from, other good players and still did well, like Dave said, more with less, and maximize the player out of talent, out of players that you didn't even really know who they were.
But this is what I wanted to know too. If our bullpen was burnt out, thank you. If our bullpen was completely burnt out, and our starting pitching what it was Stroman being out, what do you think? This is the part I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here, but what would Counsell have done with that specific situation? Is there anything that he could have done better than David Ross? That's where I get a little
I just think his experience might have done so, just because I'm pretty sure, been in similar situations with Milwaukee. Remember, David Ross was handed a minor league team, basically.
Yeah.
When
he first got hired.
First got there. And then, Craig Counsell, I think he would have been more X's and O's in certain situations and did better than David Ross. Because there was, I think, a time during the stretch where the Cubs were leading by multiple runs against Atlanta, multiple runs against, Arizona, and then giving it away. Yes, I understand, the bullpen is the bullpen.
Yeah.
Some of them aren't great, but just in that aspect, whether it be, going to this guy instead of this guy, or,
So you're saying that you would have trusted him more in putting the right guy at the right time when we needed. So. Okay. So that's where you think we're gonna see the big difference, right?
Well, that along with now you're gonna spend money.
Yeah.
And now you're back in that we're ready to win now mode, and you're going to open up the checkbook a little bit, and it's always a little bit easier to open up the checkbook.
And let me ask you this: is there any part of you that thinks that, yes, what he's accomplished with Milwaukee is incredible, with the lesser talent and lesser resources, but is there any part of you that thinks, well, he might have gotten the most out of these guys, but also maybe Milwaukee was pretty, talented with the guys they had, or you don't believe that at all? When you say most guys that come to the majors they should be developed, you're not really being developed at the major league level at that point.
You're not being developed at the major league level, especially younger players. You're expected to struggle a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's why we always talk about culture, when we have our football conversations. We talk about culture when we have, our, baseball conversations. And culture starts with the man at the top. And as the manager, I think he lets players know what their role is.
Okay.
He creates a team identity, him and the general manager. And then he gives the players, the best opportunity to succeed. So just look, for example, real quick. I'm trying to pull up something here.
Yeah.
And use it as an
example. You're talking about when putting them in position to succeed, like the batting order and what their role is for each part of the batting order, right? For instance.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then or we can use pitching as an example. You're my 5th, 6th inning guy.
Yeah.
You're my 7th inning guy. You're my 8th inning guy.
Yeah.
Williams, you're my closer. That's just the way it is.
So much of that has to come really from the GM level, right?
Well,
I just want to throw devil's advocate out there. We don't want to put him up on Counsell up on a pedestal too much, because so much of that has to come from the GM level to give you at least those mediocre to decent tools that you can shape into better tools.
I mean, that's the reason why I'm questioning it too. It's because I don't know how much Craig Counsell would have done. Thank you so much.
Well, especially after the day you've had today. You can see it on your face.
Yeah. So.
What? So, real quick, going back to what Dave was saying.
What's wrong with my face?
I don't know. Maybe she just looked at you at a long day. I don't know.
Is it my fucking facial hair?
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe you haven't shaved in a while. I'm not sure. She said.
Do I look like I've been through a lot today?
I've been through.
You look like you've been through a lot every day I see you.
Damn, that was just random. I thought fucking Dave probably said something beforehand to get content.
I'm right here.
Yeah,
that's true.
But just to go off what you two just said, David, I do think it's part of the general manager. It was also the general manager communicating with the manager, and the manager saying, "This is my style of play. I want starting pitching," and they have that in Burns, Peralta, and Woodruff. Okay, but then I'm looking at the rest of the roster right now. You have Christian Yelich, former All-Star, Then you have William Contreras, top 10 catcher in the league, but after that, Rowdy Tellez. It's a home run or nothing, basically. Bryce Terang, Andrew Monsaterio, Garrett Mitchell, Sam Free, Tyrone Taylor. These are all young guys.
Yeah.
And he's putting them in the right situation.
To produce.
And he's saying this is our identity, no matter what it is. I think we can agree outside of the starting rotation, we take the Cubs position players over the Brewers position players every day of the week.
Yes.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
In terms of talent, yes.
Yeah. So then he's putting them in a situation. I remember when Sal Frelick came up, I'm like, who is this kid? In the first game, goes 4-for-4 with the diving catch.
Yeah.
Up against the wall. And then Garrett Mitchell had a couple game-winning home runs. If we do it well, we're going to win.
Yeah.
And now I just think it's a good signing. And then, like I said, David Ross, who was blindsided, I feel for him a little bit. He's still going to get paid for the year of, on his contract. But the proof's in the pudding, man. Craig Counsell's better.
No, okay, but Hervey, as a baseball manager also, is there stuff where, not only is he creating the culture and leading, but is there also things where, he's asking, say, Suzuki, hey, hit towards the other way or something like that? Is there things like that?
Well,
or is their biggest job is to handle the pitching staff very well?
No, it's a combination of things.
Okay.
So you have the manager who gets all the blame, and he gets all the glory.
Yeah.
Okay. But then you have the pitching coach, and then you have the hitting coach, and you have the third base coach, and the first base coach, and the assistant hitting coach, and the assistant pitching coach, the bullpen coach. He is making sure those guys are on top of their game to communicate with their players.
Okay.
And everybody's doing their work. Baseball, the game ends at 10 o'clock. They're not going home. The pitching coach is going home, if he hasn't already done so, developing a game plan for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or maybe developing a game plan for the following series. The hitting coach is doing the same exact thing. The third base coach is looking up who the outfielders are on the other team and how many assists do they have.
Okay.
Who has a strong arm? Who doesn't have the strong arm? And the manager is making sure if everyone's doing their job and putting our players in the best position to win, then you're going to be successful as a team.
I got you.
So you're going to say real quick there that the coaches, the players, they wrap up the game, and if they're somewhere between Milwaukee and Chicago, they swing by Players Pub and Grill here in Prospect Heights and have a cold one or two or three and drink away their pains.
Yeah. No, that's not the case. These guys work hard 162 days out of the year, and that's just games, and then they're literally taking a month or two off if you're a player and you're getting back to work. So
now my next question is, Jed Hoyer did then, explain what happened. Counsell did his explanation why he left Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. It sounds like he wanted a new challenge. He wanted to get paid, right?
Yes. Yeah.
He wanted to reset the market. He wanted to do a little bit of everything. I think it's very odd, though, that he grew up in that area in Wisconsin, right? Lives in that same town that he grew up in. Mm-hmm. It has been managing and been successful, but he's went to Chicago. That's just very odd to me. I know he got paid more, but Milwaukee was offering him the top, $5-6 million, and he could have asked for more to make it work. Do you think any part of him is just he saw maybe that the Cubs were about to take over, and he wanted to be part of that? Is there also? I'm thinking also, there's one thing missing in his resume, right? He's considered one of the best managers in the league. He wants to win, right? And maybe he didn't see that with Milwaukee, and he's still in the Midwest, and it's the Chicago Cubs, all the history and everything. Do you see all that as valid?
Yeah, no, it all played a part into it. Trust me, I'm sure it wasn't easy for him to do that. He is a Wisconsin guy. He still stays in the area. He did manage the Milwaukee Brewers. But, it's a business, and everybody wants to win.
Yeah.
And if you can win and get paid at the same time, then that's what you're going to do.
And do you believe him? Okay, so he grew up in Milwaukee area, whatever town that is, I can't remember, but him winning, it validates everything in his resume of like taking a small market team like Milwaukee that's made the playoffs the last 4 out of 5 years. He took over in 2015 and they were very bad, and he turned it around. Winning ultimately the championship for him is the goal while getting paid, resetting the market. He made history in that sense, right? But also, the other thing I heard is that like the Cubs were his dream job. Do you believe that at all?
I do not know that. I don't know his background, but the Cubs, they are a historic franchise in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
And the aura and even I can say he's as a White Sox fan, playing in Wrigley Field or being in Wrigley Field, I'm sure is different for players. They've said, it's probably one of the coolest ballparks to play in. Now probably with Fenway Park and Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
And the Cubs are outside of the Dodgers.
He turned down the Mets. He turned down.
But that also goes back to what Phil said in his initial statement. The Cubs are ready to win more so than other teams are. The Mets aren't ready to win.
The time is right.
Yeah, the time is right.
Yeah.
And he probably sees that. And if you just look at the Cubs roster, they have one of the best defenses in Major League Baseball, if not the best defense. They probably have the best defense in middle infield.
2 Gold Gloves in the middle infield. They have won the Gold Glove.
Yeah.
I've never seen 3 Gold Glovers in one team.
Yeah, and then they just had Bellinger, so they lost one. Most likely will lose one.
Yeah.
And then Pete Armstrong has the capability of winning a Gold Glove. They have players in place that are already ready to go. All right, so I think it was just a combination of everything for him. I think it was a perfect storm for Craig because money, team ready to win, still in the Midwest, leading a historic franchise. Jed Hoyer's a very good president, to lead things. He was under Theo. So I just think it's just a good combination. And sometimes, the Milwaukee Brewers might be that girlfriend that's a 6 or a 6.5, but the Cubs are that girl that's a 9. And if they want me, hey, I want you too.
Yeah.
Hey, Herb, what time of night is it?
I'm just saying in general in terms of a long-term relationship. But I think we'll all just we'll take our 6.5 or 6 at a certain time of night.
Well, you can speak for yourself on that one. Anyways, does this help us? I feel like this helps us with free agency too, right? And possibly getting Shohei Ohtani. I'm hearing that the rumors are the Cubs are going to be very aggressive in trying to obtain him. But realistically, he probably is going to stay with the Angels or go to the Dodgers or go to the Giants, somewhere in the West Coast. Who do you see out there right now that you feel would help the Cubs in the next 3 to 4 years, both hitting and pitching?
Well, you would just have to look at the free agent class right now. Obviously, Shohei, he wouldn't pitch this year, but he's still one of the top 5 hitters in baseball.
Yep, and we'll change that whole lineup.
We'll change the whole lineup instantly. Pitching-wise, Aaron Nola's out there. He was amazing in the postseason outside of one start.
Yeah. Do you have him as your number 1 available free agent pitcher? Blake Snell's out there.
I think he's the most consistent.
Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah, I think he's most consistent because Philadelphia made the World Series. Philadelphia lost at NLCS. Looked like they were going to make the World Series. So he's pitching big games. Blake Snell had an amazing year. But no, I think this helps the Cubs. The move helps the Cubs get whoever they're targeting and however they want to build a team. It's a 1-2 year track to the World Series. It's however they want to go. Do they want to go the fast-paced route where they go with the veterans and go with the big splash of Ohtani, or do they want to kind of do a little bit slow and say, hey, let's get this guy for 4 years, $60 million, and he's gonna be our platoon guy or whatever. Let's get a couple pieces to our bullpen now, see where we're at the trade deadline, and then get a couple more pieces. It all depends on the approach now of what is Jed going to do, because he obviously is ready to go with the signing of Counsell. Is now, what are you going to do next? The winter meetings are usually slow. Free agency is usually slow early on in baseball.
Yeah.
So they're going to get a feel
technically they can sign anyone right now.
Yes.
It began. But it never seems to happen until the winter meetings.
Yeah. They're like one or two.
In December.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is the time period, like they wait until after Thanksgiving, Like they're right now is gathering the information. Who do they want to talk to? Because it happened so fast, right? The only thing I hate about this signing is that I thought this signifies that we're going to be spending a lot of money. I think we are. But Janet Warrior always has to say something that fucking brings me down. Say that this doesn't mean we're going to spend, a ridiculous amount of money. I think it's just their jobs to temper expectations.
Yes.
I also think if things align, like he says, they're going to make moves. Like,
Well,
he just doesn't. I think he doesn't want to give the idea that we're gonna get Otani and stuff and guarantee all this stuff.
yeah, no, they're going to make moves, but they're also going to make probably logical moves and go from there.
Oh, yeah.
But it's going to be very interesting to see what the Cubs do in the near future with who they bring onto the coaching staff, and then what players they bring in and how they want to approach the upcoming year. But it's definitely off to a bang for them.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited, especially because the other Chicago teams are going nowhere very soon. So
That's a good segue.
The Cubs are giving me a lot of energy right now.
Hervey, what do you want to see from the Sox?
I just want to see, so we could talk Sox a little bit. That'll be our next topic of conversation since we're on baseball right now.
Yeah.
Liam Hendricks is out for a year, so they didn't pick up his option. They have to pay him no matter what. So that's basically off the books. Tim Anderson, they didn't pick up his option.
What do you think about that? Do you think that was the right move? Or
Well, unlike Hoyer, who is basically pushing his chips into the middle of the table, Chris Getz is saying, no, I'm not playing any hands right now because all my cards suck. And he basically said, my team sucks. So, and we just lost 101 games. I just want to see, more so than moves, I want to see the players who are still on this roster that are young continue to take the next step forward. I need to see Kobach get consistent. I need to see Robert stay Luis Robert but be healthier. Eloy Jimenez to be even better than he was, even though he's solid. Yohan Moncada to be Yohan Moncada like he was the last 45 games of the year. Because they're still talented ball players. The roster overall just is terrible. Andrew Vaughn needs to take the next step in terms of, being a solid, contributable 5-6 year that contributes every day consistently. Because I just named 5 players that can probably be in most major league lineups.
yes.
And with that said, we still only score 2 to 3 runs a game. With that said, our pitching staff is pretty weak. I can't name anybody in our bullpen. And I want to see if any of these trades that we made when we sold everything in July pan out. So it's not so much, I'm not excited for the offseason with the White Sox because it's really hard to turn a team around very quickly when your everyday players are mediocre and sometimes don't put forth 100% effort. And you can tell the culture, the clubhouse isn't good. It's been very well known, especially midway through the 2023 season. I just got to see little things get better in terms of players, everyday production, the clubhouse, and then when they do bring up players that they traded for and currently have in their system, are they any good?
He was quoted as saying this: "We've got a talented group. There's no question. I don't like our team.
Yeah.
And we've got to make some adjustments so we improve for 2024." So what does that mean, though?
It's saying that he doesn't like the way the team plays. He doesn't like the way they carry themselves. He doesn't like the product they put on the field every day. I think he's being straightforward. I think he's being honest because we've all rooted for that team or played on that team or, why do we lose so much? Mm-hmm. They're so good. Like
They should be winning more.
They should be winning more. It's like, for me, it's like the White Sox the last couple of years. It's like for Phil, after they won the World Series, even though they were making the playoffs consistently, this man was still not happy with the way the Cubs were.
Yeah.
So at times, they would literally strike out 14 times one game, go next day, strike out another 14 times. They had 2 playoff games at home, a 163 and then a play-in game, and they scored 1 run combined in 2 games.
Yeah.
That's very, very frustrating.
Disgusting.
That's very, very frustrating as a fan when your team is expected to be a World Series contender, or in my case, a playoff contender, and should have walked away with our division because the AL Central is terrible. Mm-hmm. So it's when you say your team sucks, it means the way they go about things, the adjustments, the coaching staff isn't getting them ready. Obviously, it's a bunch of stuff. I think it's just straightforward. It's not so much he doesn't like his team in terms of the players. He doesn't like the way things are being ran, how things look, and how they go about things.
All right, well, with all that, here's a quick cheers, adios to 2023 Chicago baseball because it sucked a big one, and we're done. All right, on next, let's talk about
College football.
college basketball.
Basketball?
I think basketball. Basketball just fired up.
Okay.
What do you guys think about
So,
basketball?
okay, so
How
here's
much
the
money
only
have
thing
you
about
lost so
college
far?
basketball. Actually, I won some money, asshole. The Baylor, Auburn. I took the over. That pay. Listen, if I played 1 minute with Baylor and Auburn, I probably would have fucking died on the court. They took about 4 seconds to run the offense each way. The pace was enormous.
Yes.
And I read on somewhere that this was a great game to bet the over just because of the pace. But obviously, pace is great if you're making shots. If you're not making shit, it doesn't matter. Not going to hit the over. But Baylor Auburn was very fun to watch. That was probably one of my favorite college basketball games I've seen in a while. I know the season just started, but last year I did not watch much. Paid attention towards the end because of the March Madness and everything. But those two teams of light are going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah.
I don't really have much. I don't know the rankings, to be honest with you. I know Duke's got the number one guy recruit. He's supposed to be the number one pick. You're a big Duke fan. Good transition to it. What do you think of the recruit that they have?
Sorry, who's a big Duke fan?
Hervey, yeah.
Yeah.
Hervey loves Duke, Miami, White Sox, chicken noodle soup, Wendy's Biggie meal.
Yeah, the 5-5 junior bacon.
It's a great deal.
It's an amazing deal.
Here's sponsorship opportunities.
Yeah, no, college basketball season, early on in the season, you usually don't get a lot of key matchups. You get a lot of players or teams who are what are called powder puff games.
Can I get another one?
Yeah, Mama Bear, do you guys want to do another round of shots too? Or are you okay right now?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you.
So early on, Duke, they had a powder puff game. They beat up on Dartmouth. I really like this team, and I really like the direction they're headed. Like you said, they have high recruits, and Jared McCain and in Caleb Foster, two very, very high level recruits. Both are top 5 this year.
Yeah.
And
What about the number one guy though? Connor something. Connor Flag?
oh no, that's for next year.
Oh my God. Yeah, you better edit this bullshit.
Yeah, but no. Overall, I like where they're headed for this year because they have a lot of returning players.
Yeah.
And so does Kansas. Just the top 5 in general, outside of Michigan State, performed very, very well. Kansas did what they were supposed to do. Duke did what they were supposed to do. Marquette did what they were supposed to do.
Dude, did you know that some of these top teams were doing secret scrimmages as well?
Yeah, no,
Is this like a regular thing? I've never heard of this.
What are you talking about, too? Between different teams?
Like the top teams would do like scrimmages, like not televised, like they don't talk about it, but like I know
You would go fly down to North Carolina and do a secret
it's
scrimmage?
something similar to that.
Yeah,
like,
within driving distance
Yeah.
or something. Yeah,
Alright.
yeah.
like Marquette played. I can't remember the team, but I think they played Baylor. I think
Marquette,
this is
you
why
said the top teams.
yeah.
Marquette's
Yeah,
one
they're
of the
number-
top teams.
Yeah, they're number 5 in the country.
They're number 5.
Yeah.
Wade's in there.
Yeah. Dwayne Wade's back.
He
in
went
Miami.
back?
Yeah. No, there's a lot of good teams in college basketball this year, and outside of Michigan State, they all performed well. Purdue won big, and they got the returning player of the year in Zach Edey. It's gonna be good.
He's been in the fucking. We joked about this, but is this his like 6th year? I mean, seriously.
Well, especially in the Big Ten, it seems like every school has that player that's been in the program for seems like 5, 6, 7 years, and he is that guy. But he's returning player of the year. They got off to a good start. They're very good with playing defense, making a shot, and then him in the middle. Kansas, Bill Self, just got the, contract to be the highest coach.
$53 million.
Yeah, highest
Rock
coach
Chalk
ever.
Jayhawk, baby.
Yep, that's Dave's team.
Thumbs up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Early on, college basketball is that sport that gets overlooked because you still have NFL going on,
Yeah.
NBA's going on, hockey started up if you're into hockey.
So it's taking the back seat for now.
It's taking the backseat for now, but then come January, February, it definitely starts to pick up as the NFL season ends. But if you're a college basketball fan, if you are wagerers like us, there's a lot of opportunity out there, and there's a lot of good, talented players. Like you were saying, Phil, that Auburn-Baylor game last night, I was on the right side of it too. I took the over. I had it parlayed with St. John's over, so I actually hit a little two-teamer as well.
Nice. Fantastic.
So, but and those are two very talented teams.
Yeah.
They both lost a lot of players, and they still performed and entertained us. And you're going to see that, I think, throughout the entire college basketball season.
I bet in the UMass game, so you notice like a lot of coaches that are well known that got in trouble with the team or got ousted. Mm-hmm. And now you got like Rick Pitino's kind of building himself. He was at Iona, now he's in St. John's.
Yeah.
Frank Martin's in UMass.
Is he really?
Yeah, dude. And that was another game that I hit the over on. I read somewhere, and they said that the pace was gonna be fast. You're right. If you do your research, you could feel like college is pure, and the trends are a lot better.
Yeah.
Where like professional sports, there's so much parity. Like you fucking don't know what's gonna happen from time to, especially the NFL, bro. I've been so turned off by the NFL, in terms of betting and stuff. Because, literally any team could be anybody from week to week.
Yeah,
I've seen the upsets keep getting bigger and bigger every year. And Arizona beating Dallas, and then, what was the other one? Carolina beating Houston. I guess that's not that big of an upset.
Houston
but
beating Jacksonville.
Houston beating Jacksonville, yeah.
All right, hold on. Before we open up that can of worms, let's stick with college basketball and betting. You've now given me two segues to talk about the betting element of college basketball. Do either of you? I'm going to go ahead and I'll bet on Phil on the over of him betting overs. I've never known you to bet an under. Do you bet unders ever?
So like unders, I usually like to do. It has to be the right storm. It has to be the right storm. First of all, it's hard for me to bet unders. So if I think the game's going to go under, I usually try to stay away from it. Reason is I can't root for no points, no runs. It's miserable for me. It's not fun for me. So I like to focus on games that I can hit the over on. Like,
do you think that Vegas knows that? Do we think that Vegas knows that they hit pretty darn accurate?
I don't know.
If they do.
No, I think Vegas has an idea. Vegas knows where the money's going. So Vegas knows, if 60% of the public's on the over, if 60% of the public's on the Chicago Bulls or the LA Lakers or the San Francisco 49ers, Vegas knows where all the money's going. They're setting the line, and the moment they set the line, smart bettors, from what I'm told, they bet early in the week. Say, for example, for football. If they see a line that looks fishy, they jump on it early before it moves. So, it's one of Vegas definitely has an idea of who's going to bet what and what the tendencies are.
I think that comes with every sport too. Like Dean bets on UFC, and he told me multiple times to make a bet like on a random Monday or Tuesday, and then that line was completely different by Saturday.
Yeah.
For UFC. So it does change drastically where you're not getting as much value if you're betting on something. It's just how it works.
Herbie, what about you? Are you throwing down over bets? You said you won one already. Mm-hmm. Baylor this last night?
Yeah, so Auburn Baylor, it was the total over of the game. Because just like Phil said, it was projected to be very fast paced. A lot of young talent,
athleticism.
Yeah. Baylor lost 3 of their starters last year, but both had good recruiting classes. What I like to do early on is I like to take the stronger teams, lay some points sometimes, and also I like to bet team totals because when you have, just for example, St. John's versus Stony Brook, St. John's didn't put up 80 points in their sleep. Purdue versus the team they played, they scored 100 points. I think 4 or 5 teams in the top 25 already scored 100 points. Mm-hmm. And then you'll catch their team total in the mid-80s.
I just want to point out I don't like Jordan Poole. How are you 0 for 7 with 4 points in the first half against the Hornets? I don't get it. Basketball makes no sense to me. But it's not because I bet on it, or maybe I did, but it doesn't really
I
fucking
bet
matter.
it is. I bet that's
It
exactly
doesn't really
why.
fucking
Wow.
matter.